Now that I just finished reviewing the Weird Al movie, let's talk about Enola Holmes 2, because, together, those movies would make the perfect double feature. Now, Enola Holmes 2 is a fantastic sequel to the first movie, which is good, because I barely remember the first movie. I don't know if saying it's on par with the first movie or not is a compliment or insult, since I do remember loving the first movie, but saying I barely remember it can take away a lot. Now, maybe love is a bit much. More so, I really liked the first movie for what it was and what it wasn't. Originally meant to be released in theaters, but, put on Netflix because of COVID. Enola Holmes was starred Millie Bobby Brown as Enola Holmes, the younger sister to the famous detective Sherlock Holmes, this time played by Henry Cavill, as she goes, investigates, and solves her own mystery. And, yeah, that's about it. I don't really remember what was the mystery that got her to prove herself as more than just a woman of the times. It's hard to make a movie with a message like that these days without feeling like preaching to the choir. Movies with this kind of message is always going to be important, because it's not like you're saying anything new with the troubles of equalities among sexes then or today, so you better have a good movie that's fun to watch for the whole family around that. And that's the kind of how I view this movie, a family film, or with murder and detective work for the kids. But I think what I'm trying to say is made clear. Adults can enjoy it, kids can love it, and it's not that it's fantastic, but what could have been unsubtle or annoying was, okay, it was been like 2 years since I watched it, and I remember enough of it to be not confused for the sequel, so there was no characters. I'm like, who was that? Oh, right. Now everyone was like, oh yeah, from that first movie, I remember. So I'll presume it's as good as I remembered. Now, I even recall thinking that, when the movie ended, I thought, this would actually be a great film series. And now it's 2022, and we got the sequel. So returning from the first movie is the director Harry Bradbeer and the screenwriter Jack Thorne, amongst the stars of those movies I mentioned. We got Enola Holmes 2 on Netflix, where I'm glad that despite the first being meant for theaters and then being distributed on Netflix, I was worried the sequel would be lesser since it was made knowing it'd be on streaming this time, but luckily this movie doesn't suffer from sequelitis or anything. This time Enola Holmes, played by Millie Bobby Brown as I mentioned, has now opened her own detective agency, and it's not going well due to her being a lady in 18 question mark, and being in the shadow of her older brother Sherlock, played by Henry Cavill, until one day a young girl comes up to her asking her to find her missing sister, Sarah Chapman, played by Hannah Dodd, saying Enola on a quest from police corruption to conspiracies and much worse, but she'll have to learn to work together to save the day and figure out the mystery that Sherlock himself might not be able to do on his own to uncover the answer to the mystery or whatever. Now, I don't know if I said this before, but I'm not a huge Sherlock Holmes fan. I've seen like a couple movies with him in it. I think clips from like the 30 different TV shows he's starred in, but nonetheless, the one I do remember seeing was I think the 1959's The Hounds of Baskerville, because of all Sherlock Holmes movies, that's the one I watch, because it was free on Amazon Prime. But nonetheless, I was looking forward to this movie after watching a lesser mystery film. I'll probably review that movie later. Actually, no, I won't. And this movie met my expectations of what I wanted for a sequel and being what it should be. I don't really know what to say without spoiling the movie too much. It is a mystery movie, but I did really like the plot and the message that follows, with the first movie being about proving that what you can do on your own when others doubt you, and here it's about finding trust amongst allies since you can't do everything yourself. So it feels like the right next step for Enola to grow as a character, and Millie Bobby Brown is so great as this character. I also really love Henry Cavill as Sherlock Holmes, who I actually think could star in a spin-off, so how Cavill could star in his own Sherlock movie. Like, I think we all kind of want that too, a little bit. I liked everyone on the cast: Helena Bonham Carter, Susie Wokoma, and Louise Partridge. I don't even have that much to say I hated about the film. Some of the editing bothers me, like flashing back every time something was foreshadowed and then later used on, so it takes away some surprise when it's brought back and it feels obvious what was supposed to be foreshadowed. In my best not to spoil the mystery, thing to critique about. Let's say, when I saw Sarah's character on screen, I pointed out and knew that was a character in disguise, and they don't show her real face until it's made clear that's her. But I was like, yep, that's gonna be Sarah. But it did surprise me with this movie's twist villain, which I can't believe I didn't put it together when it should have been so obvious. Like, I'm sure everyone else was like, oh, obviously. But it caught me off guard, and maybe because I wasn't thinking of it, like, okay, obviously this character was going to be that. Now, and I hope to see this villain back for a third movie, honestly. The movie is entertaining, and while nothing that new or deep, it was great as a family film to watch on a Friday night. That does what it wants to be well, and does a great job at it. Like the first movie I don't know if I'll remember that much in a couple of years, but I'll definitely look back and see both movies on par with each other as great movies. Enola Holmes 2 pulls off something how to make a great sequel, and I hope not to forget it this time as much, because I really enjoy the Enola Holmes movies. See you in movie number 3. I give Enola Holmes 2 an 8 out of 10.